Welcome back to Keto Naturopath Kitchen. I have a very special recipe today because tomorrow is my birthday, so I'm making my birthday cake. This cake I make for Karl's birthday and my birthday. His birthday's in July, mine's in December, so we get it twice a year and it is absolutely delicious. It's grain-free, nut-free, flour-free, dairy-free chocolate cake, and to use Karl's words, it's to die for. So here we are, December 19th, and it's very warm here in North Carolina. It's, in the 70s, not quite Christmassy, but I put my red shirt on to pretend. So first of all, we have to melt the chocolate. We have 200 grams of 100% chocolate, and my favorite chocolate is Ghirardelli. I've also used some of Lindt 100% chocolate, but Ghirardelli is my favorite. It was hard to find a few months ago, so I had to use Lindt. You can use any 100% chocolate, Baker's Kitchen, whatever. And to that, we add 80 grams of coconut butter. If you don't have cocoa butter, not coconut butter, cocoa butter. If you don't have cocoa butter, you can use coconut oil. But I love cocoa butter. So right now, I don't have a double boiler. Why don't I have a double boiler? I don't know. So I do a heat-proof bowl over a pan of simmering water. And be careful, it's gonna get hot. So we're gonna wait for the chocolate to melt. And while the chocolate is melting, I'm gonna tell you some of the other ingredients. And I need my glasses for that. 1/4 cup of mayonnaise. It's my own homemade mayonnaise. And we have 120 grams or 1/2 cup of coconut cream. Now what I did was, if you open up a can of coconut cream, it's all lumpy and sometimes I put it in my blender. But what I did is I used a quart jar, mason jar, put the coconut cream in here into my immersion blender and blended it up. So, and this is also a way to store the leftover. So that's what I did. So we also need 6 egg whites beaten to a stiff peak. So while this is melting, I'm just going to stir it a bit to see. It's starting to melt. This will take a while. So while we're waiting for that to melt, I'm going to whip up the egg whites, and you can add a pinch of salt. Sometimes salt helps the egg whites to whip up. I don't normally, but the recipe calls for a pinch of salt, so I'll put in a pinch of salt so that I don't get all these comments. You said to put salt in and you didn't. Well, I just did. So here we are. We're going to whip this up to a stiff peak. So the chocolate is melting nicely. I'm not sure if you can see it, but it's starting to melt with the cocoa butter. Sometimes what I do is if I'm just making this without filming, I will make sure this is all melted, do all the other ingredients, and then whip up my egg whites. But it saves time when you whip them up while the chocolate is melting. And you're probably saying, you have to make your own birthday cake? Karl doesn't make your birthday cake? Well, let's just say if I wanted to eat it, I want to make it myself. Not that he's a bad cook. I'm not saying that. When I had my surgery to remove my brain tumor, he cooked for 8 weeks. Some of the combinations were very interesting. All I can say is it's a good thing that post-surgery I really wasn't hungry. But he did a good job. He took very good care of me. So I'm not complaining. I used to think this cake was a lot of work, but the more I make it, the easier it is. Plus, I was always afraid of using whipped egg whites because I never used them. But we have our Precision PSMF course, and I do Precision PSMF and have been for nearly 2 years now. So we have a lot of the egg white bread, my cinnamon bread and garlic and onion bread, which I make a couple times a week. So now cooking with egg whites is a breeze. Okay, so this is all melted. So I'll turn this off. And you have to be very careful removing it, that you don't, the steam will come up and burn your arms. So just do it carefully. Ooh, that is hot. We have the melted chocolate and cocoa butter, as you can see here. It's all melted. Now to that, we're going to add a teaspoon of vanilla, or thereabouts. Sometimes it's hard to measure. And a teaspoon of vanilla, the coconut cream, and the xylitol. I use xylitol, as I've mentioned before. I cannot tolerate erythritol or allulose. With erythritol, I get horrible headaches. That would include the Lancanto monk fruit, because it's mostly erythritol. Allulose, I have horrible digestive issues. The only sweeteners both Karl and I can use are xylitol and stevia. If you have pets and you're using xylitol, be very careful. I have cats. I'm extremely careful near my cats. If you have dogs, I would suggest not using xylitol. But in this recipe, any keto-approved sweetener will work. So you just mix these up until they're well combined. So now I'll add the mayo. Now at this point, because of the xylitol, it's going to be very grainy. That's fine. That's the way it's supposed to be. And you're going to add the egg yolks one at a time. So it's going to be thick and very grainy. That's fine, because what we're going to do is add some water, 1 tablespoon at a time, maximum of 3 tablespoons, and you'll see how it's just going to smooth out. I usually use about 2 tablespoons of water. But you can use up to 3. I used to do all of this by hand, and it really didn't look pretty. It was very hard. So now we're going to fold in the egg whites. And this is what I was always afraid of. It's like, oh, folding in the egg whites, they're not going to stay, you know, everybody always says, oh, be careful folding in the egg whites. Be gentle. Well, yes, but, you know, I just do it. I'm probably not as gentle as I should be, but this is just to show you that anybody can do this. And yes, I like to use a metal spoon. I grew up cooking with my mom, and we used to use wooden spoons. Well, you can't use wooden spoons anymore because they're not sanitary. So then I went to plastic spoons, and they just don't give me the feel that I want. I've tried spatulas, yes I have, and I just don't like spatulas. I like the control I have with my spoon. As you can see now, it's a nice smooth batter. A little pieces of egg white here and there, but that's fine. So now what you're going to do, place it in a springform pan. I don't use a springform. I think this is a brand called Fat Daddy's, and they're professional grade, and the bottom comes out. And I'll put a link to this where I bought it on Amazon. So I'm just going to spray. I got sprayed myself. And I also, to make it easier to remove, I have, this is an 8-inch pan. You can make a 7 or 8-inch pan. This is an 8-inch parchment paper. I also buy on Amazon that I will have a link to. And you just put this on the bottom, and it's going to make it so easy to remove. Now you just pour the batter in. Oh, that looks so good. Oh, I can't wait to try it. And so what I always did growing up, learned when you're making a cake, you just slam it down a little, get all the air bubbles out. We're going to go and put this in a 325-degree oven for 35 or 45 minutes until a toothpick inserted comes out clean. So it's going to depend on the size of your pan, whether it's a 7-inch, 8-inch. I've actually made it in a 9-inch before, so it's going to depend on that. And it will rise. However, as it cools, it will shrink down again. So I'm going to set the timer for 40 minutes. So as soon as it comes out clean, I will show you what it looks like. And then it has to be cooled completely before you can remove it from the pan. So going into the oven now for 40 minutes. So this was in the oven for 40 minutes. And I tested it with a toothpick, came out clean, so I took it out. As you can see, look how high it is. And I wanted to show this to you because this looks beautiful, but by the time it completely cools, it will shrink some. So I'm going to leave it here for an hour, 2 hours till it's completely cool. Then I'll put it on a plate. And I normally put it in the refrigerator and let it cool down completely for like a day. But you know, I can't wait that long. So in an hour or 2 hours, when it's completely cool, I'll put it on a plate and I'm going to have some cake and ice cream for my pre-birthday celebration. So as you can see, it's fallen quite a bit. It's been cooling for an hour, which may or may not be enough time, but I can't wait any longer. So I'm going to do it with this very stiff spatula. Going to make sure that it's not stuck on the sides. And then what I do, how I get this off, is you have a container with a pretty wide cover, and then you're going to put this on top, and it will slide right down. Oh, doesn't that look good? So now it's still a little warm. That's okay. I'm going to move it to a plate, and just slide it onto a plate. I'll just take a small piece. This is a small piece. Tomorrow I will have a bigger piece. But how I like to have it is some of my vanilla ice cream. It tastes like an ice cream sandwich when you have vanilla ice cream with it. And we'll link to the recipe for the vanilla ice cream. I love these containers. There are 2 different brands of containers that I use. One is Sumo, one is TiVo, and I will also link to those. Look at this. These dishes are my mother's wedding dishes. They're 75 years old right now. Just using them makes everything taste a little special, but look at this. Cake and ice cream. I'm going to try it. Take a little bit of ice cream, a little bit of the cake. This is a big, so I might not be able to talk for a while. Oh, that is so good. That is, oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. It is lunchtime here, and I think this is going to be my lunch. So when you see this, I will be a year older. Let's say it's my birthday. Da, 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 da. Yes, I'm aging myself. And, oh, this is so good. I hope you enjoy it.